Hello, welcome to today's HR Huddle. And Jen and I are excited that you are here today. Today, we thought we would circle back to a topic we talked about maybe earlier this summer, and that was AI and ChatGPT. And mostly we were discussing it from, hey, we should be paying attention to this. We should get some communications out to our team about expectations and some guidelines and people are using it and how do we want them to use it, where confidentiality and protecting our assets, our information, copyrighted information. So we hope you've been doing that, and we can talk a little bit more about that as we go today as well. But we thought we should revisit the topic of AI and ChatGPT and talk about specifically how can HR professionals be leveraging this technology. And there are some great uses, and people have been trying it and playing with it. And we've been reading about it and hearing about it at conferences and from our clients. And Jen did a little practice ChatGPT that we will share with you on some ideas that it generated. I attended a HR session webinar to HR professionals, and they were talking about the uses of it in recruiting and having it help you create job ads and job descriptions. And they even talked about protecting your company's information while putting in the prompts, which is very important. So anyway, there's just many uses of it, and we thought we would just come back and say, we hope you're trying something, and if not, we want to give you some ideas of some places to start. If you are, we'll give you hopefully some ideas of maybe what's next as you've been learning about this technology. So Jen, anything else you want to say about setup before maybe we jump into some ideas here?
Well, just, AI is not exactly new. Okay. And I was asked recently for an upcoming webinar that Accounting Today is doing to share my favorite apps with them that I use all the time on my phone. And, you know, I, most of my apps that I love dearly, I love them because they know me. Those apps know me, and one I'll give, like OpenTable and Amazon. They've been using AI to boss me around and help me. OpenTable pays attention to the restaurants that I book and the reservations that I make and repeat, and the ratings that I give, and they make recommendations of other similar restaurants or things that would be inside my taste. Most of us have been bossed around a little bit if you use Amazon at all. If you started using it like a bookstore way before it became the everything store, it paid attention to what you read and gave you recommendations. And so, I think that's what there is to recognize, is that it's been around a long time. It's not like this new thing that just popped up. AI has been embedded in our apps and in its software that we use for some time, predicting behaviors, suggesting activities, and it's been driving advertising on Facebook and Google and all of those things for just a long time. And so, why is it so amazing right now? Because this engine, ChatGPT, has made it feel really accessible to people to use on their own. It's not the only AI out there, though. There's, many software tools that are existing platforms that we use in HR that have embedded AI now, or they are new AI tools that can complement or supplement what we're doing. That's what's exciting. And I am cautious about AI because I still want us to think. I still think we as human beings should be thinking and doing critical thinking, and not just take what AI says to do. I was the victim of some AI rebooking in New York. As an example, flights were canceled. I was in New York, and my airline's engine rebooked me. I was trying to leave Friday at 3:00. It rebooked me for Sunday morning at 10 a.m. I don't have to take the AI rebooking. I can go and figure out another way of getting home. I don't have to take that. What the machine told me to do. So we have to watch this dependence we could cause for ourselves on it. But man, it is brilliant, and it's got access to all the data in the whole world, or all the data at least that you give it access to. And boy, it gets smarter and smarter the more you use it. And so I think it's a really special time, another sort of technologic golden age or something, while we figure out how to harness this and use it to our benefit. And Tamara, the other thing I'll say, and then I'll hand it back to you to push us where you want us to go, is that a payroll vendor. Gosh, again, in the last 3 to 5 years, I was in a presentation ADP did, and they had a data scientist who was a really bright, young man. He was amazingly gifted in, kind of translating data into insights and ideas. And they shared in that presentation that they, had learned and had built methods to have payroll data influence and predict not influence, but predict what people might be most at risk for quitting in the organization based upon certain payroll attributes, like a lot of unused time off, let's say. But that's not the only predictor of it. And so it was kind of interesting. Like then I was like, your own payroll data could help you as an HR person. And now more than ADP says this, there are more engines that say we can take data and help you use sort of predictive analytics to figure out if you have some at-risk people and maybe focus on those people. And that's kind of a cool application of AI in HR. But it's been around a while, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And so some of this is pretty mature. Some of it's brand spanking new, and you have to try to figure it out before you go too far down the path, how confident you can be in the output.
Yeah. And I think that's a, good point about like ChatGPT is newer and more accessible to everybody, feels very accessible to everybody, whether people have tried it or not. But it can provide the time to do the thinking and the creation and the generation and the analysis that most of us probably would say we don't have time for. So if we can think about it from that perspective, like it's a starting place and it's at our fingertips, in addition to all the data that's already in our business that we are not accessing and analyzing and looking at. And if we would use some data analytics tools or AI or other, predictive, tools, my gosh, what could we do with that? So I think that's one way to think about that is, it allows for that creation, that creativity time, that creation that's generated off of what we want to put in it. And so I think that's one of the things, we want to talk about is just some places to get started. And one of them, maybe, Jen, we start with, how do I start with ChatGPT? And I'll start from a maybe big picture, and then you can drill in on, some of the questions, that you've been playing around with, specifically for HR professionals. But one of the things, if you've not played much with ChatGPT, is it's really all about the prompts that you give it. And so, queuing it up, telling it who you are, asking it to respond to questions and data. And that's how it starts to get to know you and then build a knowledge base, if you will, based on, who you are, the kinds of questions you ask, the information you're looking for, the style you want it to be written in, because we can dictate that. We can say, I want this to be a professional with maybe a little bit of humor, or, I'd like it to not have any emojis in it, or, those kinds of things. We can direct it to those kinds of preferences, if you will. But really to start practicing and playing around with those prompts. And so you could, back to my job app example, is you could, generate, some prompts for maybe a senior position that you have in the firm, and you can start adding to it to get more granular, to shape what the output is that you're looking for in that. Just from a caution perspective, Jen, that, you iterated, I want to say it again, is that we do have to be careful, like, that we're not being discriminatory in anything we're saying in the ads, and, those kinds of things. you have to teach it that. It might pull some of it, but it might not. So we have to watch for some of those as an example. Don't just take it, first glance. We need to apply that. So I think that's a place to start. If you have not really gotten your hands on ChatGPT or you're wondering about it, our teachers at our school, first week of school last week, they did a update both first to the teachers and the administrators, and then to the students about how to use it and use it well and use it appropriately. And I just thought that was so great. So the teachers aren't afraid of it and banning it, which is what we talk to the HR professionals about. Don't do that because they all have access to it. Let's teach you how to use it. So that's what we want to talk about, is some strategies to do that. So Jen, you want to share some of the prompts you were playing with?
Yes, but before I do that, Tamara, I want to underscore what you just said. Back in the day when I first went out on LinkedIn in 2007 or whatever and started trying to talk to people about it, and they thought I was like a nut and wasting time and stuff like that. And Twitter, not long after that, I would talk to managing partners and they were like, "Oh no, we banned that stuff. It was a total time waster." And I was like, "Uh-oh, you can't ban this stuff. This is going to be the way people communicate, and
they all have access to it, by the way, anyway."
On their cell phone, but lightning fast communication, and reaching many at once. But back then, literally, firms were banning it, and it was awkward, and it really distinguished firms that were change ready from firms that were just going to be, not progressing at the way that we would hope, and I think that's a talent distinction. And I share it with you using this as the example because I've heard some banning, happening on GPT engines in general. And it's fine if you have some that you think are more dangerous or higher risk or more outdated, because the version of ChatGPT, the free one, is updated last in 2021, maybe something like that. So you aren't going to have up to the minute statistical data. I've been doing a bunch of research and analysis, and I've been trying to get certain specific benchmark or statistical data that I think the world should be tracking. And mostly it comes back and says, "Hey, remember, we don't have anything after 2021. ChatGPT version 3 says that to me." So anyway, it's not Google. So that's the first thing, that we're not supposed to be using it like a search engine replacement. If you use Edge or Google or whatever, and you're just trying to get a bunch of simple search data, just use the old-fashioned search engine. But if what you're trying to do is pull data from a lot of different sources and have it kind of synthesize it down for you, so you don't have to click through a bunch of links and read a bunch of different stuff, I think that's how I'm using it right now. And I have not been using it to write for me. And I'm not saying I won't, but I am kind of a pride of ownership writer, and I am worried about the idea that, I hear people say, it's writing my blogs for me now. I think, okay, that feels uncomfortable for me, but could it give you some ideas for your blog? I think that might be the way to use it. But it will synthesize and it will give you some great ideas. So anyway, what I was taught, and I haven't taken a class. I'm a hunt and pecker right now. So there are a bunch of you out here listening to this. You're going to be way better and way smarter than I am. But the prompt that I used when I was showing it to Tamera for the purposes of this discussion with you all was where I say, I am an HR manager in a CPA firm, and you are an AI expert. I tell ChatGPT that, which I'm sure that's ridiculous, but I wanted her, I call it a her, by the way. I wanted ChatGPT to put her AI expert hat on. And then I said, please share the top 10 ways that HR professionals could use artificial intelligence in their firms. And so then I got a list of the top 10 ways that they could use it. And we already know some of these. I'm sure most of us have thought about the idea of using it for recruiting purposes, certainly. There's all kinds of recruiting application here, but Tamera just alluded to one, which was job ad creation. But applicant tracking system, work for you, and predictive work, and helping you sift and sort candidates. But Tamara said there could be bias in this process. So you have to figure out how you're going to keep bias out of it. There's bias in human beings too. So we have to be careful of that as well. But the whole recruiting and candidate screening piece, self-service employee bots, or chat functions for self-service on employee benefit questions, FAQs, things like that. Those were some of the ones that I think most of us already knew. We could have listed them by ourselves. It came up with the predictive employee retention analytics, and that's how some organizations are using it. And I had heard that said a long time ago, but hadn't really revisited it till I read it. And I thought that's a super cool idea of really looking at different ways to use AI to analyze your talent, and analyze performance measures, and scorecards and things like that. But also this idea of predicting retention and at-risk employees, super critical in this time when talent is so scarce, and where we want to pay attention to our highest performers, but we also want to know those that are on the bubble or perhaps going to leave. So those were a few of the things in the top 10 list. Tamara, I don't know if you want to get in here and share a few others.
Yeah, I think one of them that was interesting is the learning and development, and personalizing the employee training based on what their needs are, what their career goals are. It could also tie back to that employee retention idea as well. If we really integrated the thinking about it. Same with performance development, and really creating the opportunities for promotions, what's required at each level. And then again, you can integrate that to learning and development, to engagement, to opportunities. There's so many ways that you can, just have like a full picture, like a holistic, employee picture when you do that. One of my favorites was workforce planning, really predicting and forecasting what kind of people we need, especially as our models are changing, our business models are changing. And we start to think about, well, what would that look like if I had non-CPAs, in our, work stream? And then how many of those people would I need compared to how many of our maybe traditional seniors, managers, et cetera, that we need? And if we grow and we expand and we have partners retiring, like that whole, I think of algorithm, my goodness, would that be helpful, to have some workforce planning and capacity planning. And then diversity and inclusion was another one. Just really, looking at the metrics and identifying, places, to address. We keep talking about making diversity, equity, and inclusion strategic, and having goals around that. And so if we fed it its goals, we could start saying, what should we be paying attention to? Give it, our statistics, our data, our information, what does that look like? I think that could be important as well.
I love it, Tamara.
So those were,
I loved all of those ideas. And there, there are others. And one of them is automating mundane tasks. Administrative tasks, mundane tracking tasks, and things of that nature, and figuring out how to sort of set, alerts, or set, work streams into effect when certain things happen.
Well, what comes to mind, Jen, when you say that is like CPE. Like we just need to get all over that yesterday. Like, how could we use AI to automate our whole CPE process that we have in our organization and in firms, Yeah.
Well, and so I'll give an example, Tamara, to that. Okay. So like, could the AI, could it evaluate who's meeting their CPE requirements? So that's one. And then, could it send automatic emails?
Yes.
So government, if I'm a government auditor, I have to have a certain amount of CPE. It's more than the traditional auditor. Is it tracking whether or not I've got it? We're within 90 days of our CPE renewal date. There are 9 of us that are behind on CPE, but our automated system just tells us and kind of nags us until we get it done. And no human being is having to intervene and do that, run that report, send those emails. It's automatically happening. And I'm copied on the emails as the HR administrator who used to do that. I'm copied, but I'm not, I'm not having to
doing
do
the
it.
thinking and the generating and the action of it, right?
They're remembering. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, that's cool. And I understand I'm having a little bit of lag here or there, and I don't know why. So can't tell you why because I'm on a wire. So that just probably means something's happening in my neighborhood.
It's just been a long day.
Something handy is happening. So yeah. Yeah. Oh, everybody's home. No, but normally it's fine. So no, that can't be it. That better not be it. Anyway, this idea of automating mundane tasks, I want to just acknowledge there could be fear. Everybody's talking about AI is going to take my job or something, and I just want to say, get real. AI might make my job smarter. AI might take away the bottom part of my job that's repeated and administrative, but it's not going to take away the human interaction. It's not going to take away the relationship development, and it's not going to take away, all the important thinking and strategic actions that we do in HR. It's just might make it so we don't have to add as much administrative folks, and those administrative folks can work at a different level than we've traditionally had to have them work. And most of them come in, if they're going to come in and help us with, let's just say, compliance statistics, which everybody loves, not, but if they found out it was all automated away and we don't have to do that, and they just have to actually read the output and pay attention to, any sort of trends that output gives us, and alert leadership to those trends and figure out strategies to address them, that is what you want to have your HR dollars spent on, not somebody who's having to, put together a bunch of different Excel spreadsheets and track things out of output from the software that now will have the AI hopefully embedded in it to do that for you instead.
Right.
And we'll trip an alert to you that says, hey, pay attention to this because it looks like your male to female ratio in hiring is getting out of whack, or your number of new interns that accepted your offers this year is not at the same ratio that it was the last 3 years, and we need to figure out why, and things like that that then somebody has to stop and figure out why, and figure out strategies to address those challenges that you're facing. So anyway, I love the idea of it really taking away administrative tasks. And in this time that we've talked about, for quite a while, where we're going into a increasingly short workforce, where we have shrinkage in the 25 to 64-year-old population, and our workforce is shrinking, having AI come in and do some of this for us and essentially hand us information that we can then act on, verify and act on, super amazing, I think.
Yes, I agree. So we hope you go play with it, and you might ask that prompt, what are the top 10 things we could do in HR in a CPA firm, and then pick 1 or 2 that you like, and then ask another prompt. Where would you get started? What applications use this? How would I track employee engagement? Maybe if that's your one, or this idea of automating, which 3 processes would you start automating first and how? Like, play with it, go ask it questions, go learn about it, and then go find out from your vendors, from your IT person or your IT department or your outsource IT, whoever it is, What do we have that's using it? What can we use to complement it, to add AI to it? And just pick one or two to start. And I think you'll be amazed. So we'll keep this conversation going. We will be back and talk about AI again, but we thought it was time to bring it up again. So hopefully it gives you some ideas. And if you have ways you're using it, or if there's something else you want us to probe on, just let us know. We would love to engage in this conversation with you. So thank you very much. We have a great week, and we will see you next week. Thank you.